everyone, and welcome to our special edition of the High Tech Women podcast featuring a panel discussion of some very high-tech women. I'm your moderator today, Katie Galley. I'm the marketing manager here at Symphony Technology Solutions. And in our Symphony studio, I'm lucky to have with me Grace Kennedy, VDC engineer with Gilbane Building Company, and Sam Bradley, associate development manager with Core Spaces. How are you doing, ladies?
Hey, good.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
Doing well. It's glad to be here.
Well, thank you both so much. I know if you guys have been tuning in to High Tech Women and our different panels, Grace is a very familiar face. And so I'm super excited to be diving into our first panel discussion with her. And of course, Sam, going to have some fun with this. So ladies, just to start off, could you just give us a little bit of background on the company that you work for and how you entered into the role that you have today? Grace, you want to kick us off?
Yes, definitely. So I'm Grace Kennedy. I'm a VDC engineer in Orlando, Florida with Gilbane Building Company. And Gilbane is a construction management company. I currently, as a VDC engineer, I digitally coordinate the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection systems within a building before the construction and installation process, ideally. Sometimes there's fast track projects kind of happening at the same time. But my goal is to minimize on-site issues. And how I got into that, we've reviewed it a couple times, Katie. But and so Sam has a similar background with me. I'm a University of Kansas grad in their MArch program, Masters of Architecture. And my last year, I did a design build studio called 804 with Sam Bradley. So it was a year-long design build studio where 14 graduate architecture students and myself and Sam. So crazy. We designed and built 2 houses. And during that time, I really found my passion for minimizing on-site issues because we were actually there in the field, hands-on,
Love it.
doing the dirty work.
Definitely. My name is Sam. If you hear my cat meowing at me in the background, working from home, of course. So I am an associate development manager at Core Spaces. Core Spaces is a company that develops and owns student housing projects across the country. So we will take a project from acquisition and entitlements all the way through development. And then we also have a management portion of our company that does the day-to-day on-site management of all of these buildings. So my job in particular is to facilitate the development with our general contractor and manage budgets, timelines, quality, all of that, anything an owner would do really. That's what I do all day. And so it's kind of different every day and I'm really enjoying it. Again, the reason I got into it, similar to Grace, was the MArch program at University of Kansas, where we built 2 houses. It definitely opened my eyes to the bigger picture that happens when you're doing a construction project, that it's not just the architecture, and it's not just the construction, it's the whole picture. So that really interests me, and I wanted to kind of look at everything on a broader scale, which is why I work for an owner now. So super exciting.
Yeah.
And after, Kansas, I obviously didn't like the cold nearly as much as Sam did. I'm in Florida. She's in Chicago.
Yep, I am in Chicago, where I am staring at about 4 feet of snow at the moment.
My goodness. Wow. I don't know why you opted to go up north, but I guess
I'm regretting it.
Hey, they have beautiful summers and, the snow's gorgeous too, as long as you're being safe up there.
Yeah. So you can just look at it. You don't have to go out and be in the cold. Yeah. I was born and raised in New Jersey. So now I'm in Georgia. No desire to go back up north. So
yeah, I feel like once you go to the warmer weather, you just don't go back probably.
Yeah, no, never.
Katie.
You just can't. Well, obviously, you ladies have incredible journeys, and I'm super excited to dive in a little bit more. So, coming both, I guess it seems like in two different ways, coming into this construction, like tech space, and having that architecture background, really bringing you together into what you're both doing with Gilbane and with Core Spaces. So, kind of a cool thing we had talked about, Grace, and Lupin Salmon for this panel discussion is our idea was to really bring up relevant topics in today, and have those roundtable discussions about them. So relevant to what you ladies do. And of course, we can look back over this past year with COVID and kind of how things shifted. But something we talked about, Grace, was specifically what your day-to-day work tech space could look like. So one, maybe what it started off looking like for each of you once you came out of Kansas, and then two, what it has maybe shifted to become today, even, I mean, with or without COVID, how it's shifted over time. So, yeah, I just kind of wondered today, what does it look like for each of you? So Grace, you want to kick us off?
So I feel like, yeah, no, thanks, Katie. I feel like there are two different ways to look at this. So when you're like, what's your work tech space look like? I think like there's like your physical work space where it's like, we're in a room. Are you at home? Are you in your office? How many screens you got? You got a fancy chair. You like physically, where are you existing? And then there's also the digital tech space. Like what programs are you using constantly? What are your go-tos? So I guess, Katie, which one you want to start off with?
Let's start with what your physical workspace looks like, and then we can really dive into the technical side of it.
Nice. Okay, cool. So physically, I would say that mine currently is a lot more personalized than it was when I first entered the workforce. I didn't have any pictures on the wall. It was just like a blank desk, one monitor, my laptop. Now I got a couple different monitors. My mouse pad, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it has like a wrist guard thing, and didn't realize how important that was until, days long working tech stuff and clicking. So that wrist guard mouse pad is crucial for me. Also, I also like having, with my digital space, I love having a pen and paper and sketchbook pages like in front of me, because I still like to, like, architect, visual learner here. Sketching is how I brainstorm. So I always, bit messy, but have papers scattered around everywhere before I like hone into a digital idea. I go and I hand sketch it. And I also have like, I got this from my boss. She's great. Michelle Leonard, VDC manager here in Orlando. Shout out. I have Post-its, like Post-it notes that I put like randomly all over as little reminders, because they're very colorful, and your eye can't miss them. And like, depending on the level of like priority of this reminder for me is where I locate it on my desk space. Whether it's like, it's not that important, low priority, it's going on my desk somewhere. Like this one is like NCARB hours, check in, charge my drone, whatever. Then I have some that are like in a very obnoxious place for me. That's like, it's on the top left of my monitor. So it's blocking the like file options, like typical layout of programs. So like this one is something that's crucial and I have to deal with, or else, just going to be blocking my day-to-day tasks. So I know that was a lot, but this has I have personalized my at-home tech workspace as well as my office tech workspace, because I'm doing a rotational schedule, transitioning more to the office now though. Okay. But that's kind of, I would say, a picture of what my tech workspace looks like physically. Go ahead, Sam.
I love the sticky notes idea. I know we've talked about that before, but I love how it's just obnoxiously putting things places so you can't miss them and you can't forget to do them, because that's something that happens. And two, I love that you the physical writing things out, because I would imagine being so tech focused, being on your computer all day, having that break of writing things down with pen and paper, it just kind of simplifies it, but maybe gives you a break from staring at a screen.
Definitely.
All right, Sam, what does your tech space look like? I heard your little kitty meowing. So
yeah, she is. She's my favorite coworker at the moment. My tech space is pretty basic, actually. I have one monitor, a desk, my laptop, and it also has become a little bit more personal, but I think it's more in the way of making it kind of more a part of my home as opposed to like a workspace and then like a home space. It's definitely all kind of integrated at this point, which is good and bad. So yeah, I just have my desk is in my room, and I'm actually not there right now, but usually the background is like very obviously my room, and like it's kind of cool because I feel like my coworkers and I have kind of gotten to a more like casual place in like our relationship and stuff. We just kind of, like it's very clear that we're at home, and I don't know, it's been kind of nice actually to get to see a little bit of people's lives through like their Zoom screen and all of that. So yeah, my workspace is pretty informal, very basic, but it gets the job done. And in terms of writing things down, I usually keep one to-do list with me at all times. I have this little notebook here that I keep. So since I travel for work a lot, that comes with me everywhere, and I write everything down in that. Otherwise, it's all pretty digital. I mean, this is really the only physical thing I have for work.
Yeah. And Sam, so you said you travel a lot. I guess you took a hiatus a little bit with COVID, but have you picked to travel back up again?
Yeah, so we did stop traveling for about 3 or 4 months at the height of COVID when it was all starting and everything. And then it was very based on the guidelines and like the state's, like quarantine rules, and if it was an orange state or a red state or whatever the rules are. And so the development team in particular travels pretty frequently. I would say we travel at least once a month, if not twice a month, out to our jobs since they are nationwide. And so it became very clear that if we weren't comfortable doing that, there was no pressure at all to do it. But if it was something that we saw necessary, we would go out at our own discretion, and then just have to follow any kind of quarantine rules. And our office has been really great about letting us work from home, not requiring anybody to come in or be in the office at any time if there is any kind of uncomfort there, because we have teams that are mostly in the office, like our accounting team or like our corporate team is in the office pretty regularly. And so they made it very clear that if we're going to be traveling, that we should make sure that we're quarantining and all of that afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty nice, actually. I do really enjoy working from home. So being able to work from home consistently has been kind of nice for me.
That's good. Making that shift, then it was, I guess, a little easier in finding the enjoyment in it pretty quickly.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I definitely do enjoy working from home. I know some of my coworkers would disagree. They enjoy being in the office and having that, coworker experience, but I like the way that this is going.
Yeah. No, I feel you. And so for both of you ladies, I mean, you clearly have tendencies towards how to track things, your to-dos, writing things down, physically keeping things on your desktop so you know what's coming up. But for each of you, what would you say within, I guess, the physical confines of your workspace are kind of some keys to success for you? So make sure you're staying on top of things, staying on that and ahead of productivity. One, coming from in the office, but two, even if in the enjoyment of working from home, kind of where that line is blurred of work to home life. So how you maintain that productivity and also maybe kind of break up those two things. So Grace, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, no, good question. And you're talking about in the physical space here.
Yeah. Yep.
Correct. For me, it's physically writing something down. I guess it also could be, throwing something on my calendar as well, like a reminder digitally on my calendar. But I would say staying organized, having task lists that are in front of me at all times. Like I mentioned, the Post-it notes for sure. And then I would say otherwise, making sure that you're able to take mental breaks and physical breaks. Like if you can't work, 10 hours, hour 1 through 10 with absolutely no breaks, you begin to, head gets fuzzy, productivity level is a little bit off. So if you're able to go outside or just within your home or office, stretch for 5 minutes, whatever it is. I would say taking those breaks to break up that monotony there, I think that's crucial, at least for me, for staying on task, because I come back from that break more energized, ready to go, focused more. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing, honestly, having to really schedule out my time and remind myself that just because I'm home doesn't mean that I can just sit in front of my desk all day. Because if you think about it, before, when I was commuting to the office every day, I mean, it was about 2 hours out of my day just to go there and home, like just my commute. So that's already 2 hours that I don't have to commit to commuting anymore, which means that I can use that time to do laundry or do yoga, or like, it doesn't have to go straight to work. So that's been something that I try to remember.
Work-life balance.
Yeah, definitely. I try to remember that, you know, if I was at work, I would probably go and grab a lunch. I would probably like go and talk to my coworker for 20 minutes or so, you know, just to break up the day. I would not be sitting at my desk all day if I was in the office. So I don't have to do that just because I'm home and it's right there. So just remembering that for me has been huge, and also scheduling out my time and reminding myself to take a break, and literally putting that on my calendar, like for 30 minutes, go eat lunch. Like,
nice. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I actually block out my calendar now, and I color code everything. So it's like personal stuff, work stuff, like by project, it all has a different color. And like, it's been really nice actually to see at like 5:30, I have a little green 30 minutes that says like, wrap up your work, like, you know, finish up and go make dinner. And so then it's like, okay, this is the end of my day. If I have to keep working, I will, if there's something really important, but it stops me from just working all night and not stopping.
Yeah.
So down here in Florida, the Gilbane office, we are safely transitioning back into working into the office, social distancing, masking up. You know, if you're comfortable, you are able to go back in the office. So the VDC team is currently in the office now. But when we were full-time at home earlier in 2020, it was, Sam, I understand, it was difficult to create a new workday structure for yourself that, you know, where it stayed in one location at home. Yeah. It was difficult. So it sounds like you are getting the hang of it now.
Definitely. I remember at the very beginning of this, I was having a really hard time disconnecting the two, like personal time from work time and all of that. So I literally would put my shoes on at the beginning of the day, walk out of my apartment, walk down to the elevators, and turn around and come back.
You told me that. You were like, I miss putting on shoes.
Yeah. So that was me like going to the office. And so I would leave my shoes on all day and work. And then at the end of my day, I would do the same thing. I would leave my apartment, walk out of my elevators, and come back, get home and take my shoes off. And that was like how I was able to separate the two. And now I don't need to do that, but it was really helpful at first.
Socks are okay. Barefoot is fine now.
Yeah, definitely. I don't miss the shoes anymore.
That's good. I love that though. That's such a good reminder, because you're right. I mean, having that separation is key, and it's one thing to block it off in your calendar, but having that actual physical tactile reminder of, okay, I'm physically doing this. I'm going on a walk. I'm coming back into my apartment. Okay, work starts, or I'm leaving, coming back, work is over. It's just, because if you're not used to working from home or working outside of the office, it's that the lines are so blurred. And so having those physical reminders, that's a really good insight there, Sam.
Yeah, it helped me a lot. It maybe took me like 2 or 3 weeks to be like, okay, I don't really need to be doing this anymore. But at first it was huge. It really did shift my mindset.
Did you come up with that on your own, or did you like read it somewhere?
No, I just missed leaving the house, and I missed putting shoes on. And I just felt like I was doing the same thing all day. And I was like, normally I would walk down the hall, so maybe that's what I need to be doing here.
Yeah.
It's like, shoes are going on.
Yeah.
These bad boys, I bought them for a reason. These are going on.
Definitely.
Love that. Love it. I mean, that's really such a good insight from both of you. And so we talked pretty in detail about our, your physical spaces, how they've shifted, and now, of course, safely going back into the office for Grace. So now, outside of that physical space, both of you, of course, work a lot on the computers and intimately with those different programs. So can you guys talk about all those different technical programs that you dive into within the specific industries that you're in? Grace, you want to start?
Yeah, definitely. So as for typical day-to-day programs, so communication wise, that staple programs, you got Outlook for email, and then which is communicating with everyone, and then my internal communication with my team, we use Microsoft Teams. So those staples always on. I would say for my day-to-day MEP coordination that I do for Gilbane for my projects.
And what does MEP mean? Just
mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Cool.
Forgive me. Good point. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing. It's just a short term that wraps those up. Yep. Yeah. So for MEP coordination, I have Autodesk Softwares. So Navisworks is probably the one I'm using most. Also Revit. CAD rarely, but so Navisworks and Revit for sure all the time. And then I would say outside of that, Bluebeam, Excel, Procore for my documentation of the of coordination. But yeah, I would say Autodesk is huge, is the biggest. Oh, and then if I'm doing drone work, that's Pix40. Or Adobe Premiere if I'm doing some editing from my drone work. But wow. Yeah.
That's so cool. So you do, I mean, the depth of what you do is pretty intensive. I mean, working all those different softwares, but I didn't know too. So you take drone footage and then it's also on you to edit whatever footage you take?
Yeah, typically. Yeah, because I'll get the drone footage, and of course, so we have our marketing team at Gilbane that helps me out as well. However, if you're looking for a certain deliverable, it typically involves extra processing time. For example, orthomosaic plans are a high-res aerial view of a project, of a site. So you can, I mean, I'm going on a little tangent here, but the drone will take a bunch of aerials in a grid-like pattern over the area that you're looking to take the footage of. And then Pix40 will stitch all those together and produce this huge high-res aerial footage or image that is called an orthomosaic plan. So yeah, the post drone flight editing stuff, that's I also work in those programs as well.
Did it take you a long time to learn each of those programs? Did you already have a background in them from Studio 804?
Drone stuff, that's all new from Gilbane, and I am a member of Gilbane's drone program, and they've been awesome helping me, collaborating with me, and learning together. They've been a great resource for learning new drone programs. As for the Autodesk softwares, a lot of them we learned at school at Kansas. Not Navisworks though. That one was new to me with Gilbane, but Revit was huge. That was the main software that we worked in for architecture at University of Kansas.
Wow. So Sam, do you work in similar softwares or just totally different ones?
Not really at all, to be honest. I think Grace is a lot more high tech than me in this area. My company is pretty basic. We don't really do a ton of the coordination or like physical information creation. We just mostly view it and track it. So we don't really have a ton of big softwares like that. Typically I'll use, Outlook, Microsoft Teams, OneNote. Those are kind of my basics. And then on top of that, we do Excel. Excel is really where I spend a lot of my time. It's very basic stuff, but it is expansive in what we're able to do, just because we we aren't required necessarily to be creating the content, just tracking it. So no, I don't use huge programs like Grace does. I do miss it. I will say I used a ton of programs when I was in college. Revit was a huge one. We also did a lot of Photoshop and InDesign, and AutoCAD, and, you know, programs for architecture. I do miss being in programs like that. And I think that I need to start, you know, doing those things outside of work, since that's not necessarily my main focus of my job now. But it is something I enjoy doing. So,
but you're learning a lot of the more management and like budget tracking and schedule tracking parts of the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say that coming into my job, I was not super familiar with Microsoft Suite. I knew Word, obviously, but like Excel, you know, I was proficient in Excel. Now I think I actually am proficient in Excel. I've used it quite frequently. Same thing with like Microsoft Project, tracking schedules and all of that has been a huge tool for me. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool to realize like how much you're able to do with just the basic Microsoft Suite, Adobe Suite. Those things have been my go-tos.
I would argue that Adobe Suite isn't basic though. Yeah. That's it's more of a staple. It's something that, you know,
that's true.
I feel like basic is like not the term where you're looking for. It's staple. It's, you know, it's a powerhouse Adobe
That's
Suite.
True. Yeah. It has been part of my life for so many years now, though, that I just think of it as like,
yeah, right.
You know, a second language.
I was like, we used that, you know, day one at University of Kansas.
Yeah.
So yeah. Whoa, that was like 7-8 years ago, Sam.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely like a second language to me now. I use Adobe like it's, I don't know.
And Sam's being modest over here.
Right. And I think too, it's interesting, like you get so entrenched in it because you've both now been, you said 7 or 8 years, right? And so you forget that the skills that you have, not everybody has. So for both of you, and I know, I mean, going into the more technical side with the programs that you work in, and I found it really interesting too. You both came out of Kansas, the same studio, and then went into kind of two different directions with the career path that you chose. Grace going,
we were sick of each other.
Sick, you just got to get rid of each other right now. So Sam, I know Grace, and I want to Grace again to go into your story too. But Sam, how did you, coming out of Studio 804, and you said it's different. You used to use all those softwares, now you don't. It's more that management side. So how did you find yourself specifically on this track?
That's a really good question. I did start out coming from Studio 804. I was looking for a job more similar to Grace's. I was looking for a VDC job. That's something that they kind of advertised to us during our time in 804 as like a good fit for the skill set that we were learning. It was very inclusive of all different aspects of the job. And so I was looking for that at first. And I knew I was going to be in Chicago. So I was looking in Chicago for jobs like that. And while I was searching, I just kind of came across the company I'm at now and looked more into it, realized that I could still have the overarching, like in-depth project management thing. I don't really know how to put that, but I could be ingrained in a project on all aspects, but I didn't have to do VDC because I think I am more like broad picture thinker as opposed to like mechanical, like
technical,
following codes, following rules, making sure measurements are correct, like, you know, that kind of
well, Sam, so
technical side.
What's cool that like, so Sam's told me, forgive me for interrupting, but I feel like this is a good talking point here that like I don't want you to miss out on, Sam. Like Sam has told me a couple of times, like she's involved in a project through like all the way to the end to when the students are literally walking in that day and checking out their rooms, or actually like finding their rooms, that their dorm
and
rooms.
Even after that, we continue on. We do the warranty process. We do.
She sees it through. Like she's involved in the process for so long, which is super cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that was something that 804 taught me that I really did like to do, because in 804 we found the land, we surveyed the land, we did the foundations, the framing, like the finishes, everything through. We found the realtor, we sold the houses, like we did the whole thing. And that was really intriguing to me, to not just focus on like one particular thing. I learned that I like to see the whole thing through. And so when I found this company, I did think that that was really interesting, because a lot of owners will do just the development of the building, or just like the management side of the building. Like they'll buy a finished product and they'll own it for years. My company is a bit different than the typical standard format, because we do the whole thing. Like we have a fund that we have just started that we are, building up so that we can acquire these projects on our own. But that the financial side is something I'm not very comfortable with. But we do it from the very, very, very beginning of financing a job and finding a site and doing all of the market research and all of that to decide where we want to develop. We buy the land, we do the design and the programming and anything that goes into like pre-con and all of that we do with the help of our architects and interior designers. And then we manage it all the way through, and then we keep the buildings for the most part. Sometimes we do sell them, but for the most part we have management companies around the country. And it's just really cool to see the whole lifespan of a property, and to be able to learn from different people in my own job, really, because it's still a pretty small company. I mean, I think we have maybe more than 250 people, no more than 300, I think, but we are growing very quickly, so I could be wrong. But it's just really cool to be a part of such a small group of people who are so diverse in what we do and what we know.
Yeah. It's super interesting that, it's for both of you to come from the same program, but to have different takes from it. So Sam being more attracted to that overall view and seeing something from start to finish. And then Grace too, I know that's something you were attracted to, but focusing more in on that BDC side, the design and the development side.
Right. So, I touch a project for the MEP coordination side, a little bit give and take on either side. It definitely depends. For my previous project, I was involved a little bit early on than that, but I'm not on the project all the way until its completion. So that is something that Sam, has, it differs than me. But again, Gilbane Building Company, they are a part of the project from start to finish. I, VDC engineer, I am a part of mainly the managing the MEP coordination segment of it.
Got it.
So, and I absolutely love that portion. It's a bunch of problem solving. It's a little bit more technical into the details, like what Sam was saying. I guess that's where we differ, because I absolutely love that. I love
it's
all
always
the details.
So fun whenever you tell me about like what you're working on or your projects or whatever. Like, I don't know, I feel like you have so much knowledge about these systems, and I don't know, it's fun to listen to.
I love zooming in and breaking it down, like looking at an entire floor, the overhead, and understanding, oh my gosh, all of these systems have to fit in here and work. All right, team, how are we going to do this? Like, I love it. And it's like, for example, let's say, like, in order just to gain a couple inches, because every inch counts in that above ceiling space, every inch counts. So we found that within the beam pockets, we were able to adjust the layout of the hangers. Instead of hangers being on the bottom, it was on top of these particular pipes, and that gained us an inch. Doesn't sound like much. However, our team was really excited about that because it made the systems work. It made it more accessible. I absolutely love the nitty-gritty, detail, technical side of things.
And it's amazing too that you were both, again, came out of the same program, but were able to use that knowledge and go in those two different directions, right? I mean, working for two different companies and really seeking out those things that you discovered you were passionate about, either getting in the nitty-gritty or looking at the broad picture of start to finish. I love that.
Definitely.
So ladies, this was a great discussion. We kind of went all over the place, but I love it. Learned a lot. So before we wrap, do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to say?
I don't. I guess, Sam, thanks for hopping on. Katie, thanks for having us, of course. Looking forward to future discussions with you.
Yes, you too, you both. So someone wanted to learn more, Sam, about you and about Core Spaces. Where might they do that?
So Core Spaces has a website, corespaces.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We have an Instagram. Our buildings are really cool, so look at our Instagrams. We have, every property has its own, or there's just the overarching hub lifestyle. That's kind of, the buildings that we build mostly are called the hub. So Hub Lifestyle is our lifestyle brand, and they do events and marketing and all of that. So you can find them there. Or just message me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Will do. Grace, what about you?
Same thing, Gilbane Building Company. You can find them on all social media platforms. As for myself, my email is gkennedy1@gilbaneco.com, or message me on LinkedIn.